Language is the foundation of civilization and the basic road to connect mankind. Literature, on the other hand, is the breadth and finer spirit of all knowledge, as William Wordsworth, the great British poet, says. They together reflect the sensibilities of the time, and today, as we have gathered here, we want to understand the dominant sensibilities of the time through our esteemed speaker of the day. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, everyone present here who have spared their time to attend this webinar today on New English Trends in Language and Literature. I am Kavita Kumari from the Department of Humanities, Sarla Birla University, Ranchi. And as we begin today, I would like to tell you that today we have Dr. Aram Jha, Associate Dean, Department of Humanities, Sarla Birla University, Dr. Riya Mukherjee, Program Coordinator, Department of Humanities, Sarla Birla University, and above all and most significantly, our esteemed guest of the day, Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh. So, in order to welcome him today and to introduce our esteemed guest, I request Dr. Aram Jha to take the charge.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Dr. Saab. Thank you very much for your kindness. With a very short span of time, you have accepted our invitation, for which we shall be remain obliged to you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all present here today on this auspicious occasion of National Webinar. I, Dr. R.M. Jha, on behalf of Sarla Birla University and entire fraternity, welcome the guest, the speaker of today's webinar, Professor Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh, who is not only the man of literature, a man of all season, a big shot in the Department of English Literature and Language in India. Before continue the session, I would like to welcome the Honorable CEO, VC in charge, Dr. Pradeep Verma sir, Honorable Registrar of Sarla Birla University, Professor Vijay Kumar Singh sir, Dean IDCS, Professor Sanjeev Bajaj sir, Dean Engineering Applied Science, Professor Sridhar B. Dadin sir, Associate Dean Professor Paul sir, all coordinators, staff members, faculties, students from inside and outside, participants from Jharkhand and outside from Jharkhand, I welcome to join on this beautiful movement. It's a great pleasure for me to give a short, a very brief biodata about today's speaker. He is not other than Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh, who is a bilingual poet, an editor, a critic, a short story writer, and above all, a good teacher of literature. Dr. Singh rendered his services at various reputed Indian universities, colleges, and institutions as English faculty and ELT trainer. At present, he is serving as an associate professor and head Department of Humanities and Management Science, Madan Mohan Malviya University of Technology, Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh, India. Professor Singh also offered his services to visually challenged students. His prestigious international certifications include TESOL, ELT Leadership Management Certificate, the ELT Leadership Management Certificate Program conducted by TESOL, International Association, Alexandria, Virginia, USA, and English Language Teacher Summer by Department of Continuing Education at Exeter College, University of Oxford, UK, and many more. Professor Singh also acted as research person at HRDC, DDU, GU Gorakhpur, HRDC, BPSW, Sonipat, UGC, ASC, GJUNST, Haryana. Attended over 50 national and international seminars and conferences and chaired technical sessions in them, including IIM Bangalore, BITS Pilani, SRM University, and other institutions of highly reputed. He is not only an author but also composed several poems which appeared in the most reputed journals like Poet International, Rock, Fables and Anthologies in the Enchanted World, Poet's Paradise, The Fancy Realm, and The Melodies of Immortality. He contributed more than 60 research articles which are widely published by Indian and foreign publishers, and also edited 3 books: Post-Feminism in India, Myth and Reality, Advanced Information Communication Technology in Engineering, and क्योंकि जरूरी है जातीय अन्मोलन, he also co-authored 2 books, and these books are Formal Letters and Feminine Consciousness, Glimpses Indian Perspective. Besides a very good teacher, he is also an activist, a social reformer, and he always helped all the helplessness people who are always in contact with him. He is a wonderful human being and a man of English literature. Once again, I would like to welcome sir from the bottom of my heart, and I also, on behalf of our VC in charge and registrar of Sarla Birla University, I also welcome you from the core of our heart. And once again, I also welcome all the educationists, teachers, students, and all the staff members and all the participants with an anticipation that by this webinar. Sir, thank you very much, and thank you very much for being so good to us. And I once more I welcome on behalf of entire Sarla Birla University for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so while the webinar continues, I request the participants to post their questions, which will be taken at the end of the talk. With this, we welcome our guest speaker of the day, Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh. Yes, sir. Sir, you are live now. Kindly unmute yourself.
Unmute, sir.
Sir, you are not audible. Kindly unmute yourself.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for providing me this platform, and I must take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt, sincere gratitude to Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sarla Birla University, Registrar Sahab and Dean Sahab, and my dear friend Radha Madhav Jha ji, RM Jha sir. And I would like to share with those who are listening me for the first time that though we may work anywhere, but for the training as a teacher and working, our real training and upbringing and grooming as a teacher, credit goes to Birlas. And whether Jhanji or me, all are somewhere connected with Birlas, and I dedicated my 10 years in a Birla Institute in Bhiwani, the Technological Institute of Textile and Sciences. So it's not like that an alien coming to speak at your forum. Rather, it's like your family member sharing their thoughts and feeling like a get together. I'm really thankful to Riyaji, and I'm thankful to Kavita and all the team of humanities over there, Department of Humanities, Sarla Birla University, Ranchi. You suffered a lot of problem because of me a day before, because of poor connectivity of internet and a lot many things, but ultimately you made it. And nowadays, when any kind of academics is incomplete in the absentia of technology, as the life is an integral part of literature, and you can realize that the life that we were leading before December, before COVID-19, and the life that we are leading, even teaching learning scenario and all kind of environment, we are missing our dear students. Even in absentia of them, any university campus is desolate. So I am thankful to all of you for providing this forum, and without intervening for sparing any single moment, let me come to the talk and deliberate on the topic, wonderful topic that you have given to me. This is such a beautiful topic that I would love to deliberate again and again. See, let me speak a minute on title itself. New English Trends in Literature and Language. You might be looking at the title that New Trends in English Literature and Language. But here, when the English is put before literature, and when it comes new English trends, the horizon itself is widened, and I must say a great sense of thanks to all those, because any technical university or any literary university, this title becomes, this is widening the horizon of the title itself. uh, I must say in my mother tongue कि आपने हमें सागर दे दिया है and I have to swim. So that way it's a real taste. Why? New English trends, when you will look at the there, so it can be applied to any literature and any language. That's the width, and that's the zenith, and that's the depth of the talk. And that's why I would love to, realize like a free bird. And I would like to say, I'm not that big a speaker that you are thinking, but in the real sense, मेरी औकात चाहे छोटी चिड़िया की क्यों न हो, उड़ने के लिए सारा आसमान चाहिए, and you have provided me that kind of horizon to talk on it. And for this talk, when we look at new English trained in literature and language, this is like there is no end to the talk, from where to begin and from where to end. But let me begin, let me catch the trains of English from the beginning of, interaction of cultures and civilization that began a few centuries ago, when we became the colony of English or British. I would like to say, and I systematically see today in the month when we are discussing on this topic, you can remember and recall Macaulay Millet on education came in 1835, and today in the year 2020 we are about to have our own national policy on education and new educational policy. So since then, language, let me say one thing, that language is not just what we do speak, but language is the part of central nervous system. It flows in our veins, and like flesh and blood, it is a flesh and blood. If language is blood, so literature is the flesh, and that cannot be separated from each other. And there you will realize, and in jointly all this title cannot be separated from human life. While looking at that, see what we were and what we are and what we will be. Language was there, language is with us, and language will be as the complete witness of that. Many years ago in literature, when psychological study was introduced in language, and we remember a person who introduced the religion of blood, and that religion of blood is here. That religion is producing the language, leading it and making it marching on many scenario. I may be moving upon example to example, but before that I would like to say how the mother tongue is also influenced by the other tongue, English strength, and how was it influencing us. So let me, you may be thinking that what I am giving, but it's really new English strains in literature and language. How does it affect our mind? When English was introduced to in 1835, it was introduced with a purpose. And I assume that my all English lovers and literary enthusiasts will be knowing it, or if they are not knowing it, just for remembering sake, just for reminder sake, let me cite a few lines from Macaulay Millet on education. When Macaulay traveled, I am talking about the pan-India, the whole India, the mega India of the time, 1835, when Bangladesh, Pakistan and India all were one. And Macaulay came and traveled and he wrote over there like a travelogue. He starts with his Macaulay Minutes. He said that I came to India and travel from all railway station from one corner to other corner, and then after traveling I couldn't locate even a single beggar on any railway station or any nearby. He couldn't identify. He said that people were walking barefooted on railway station. They were not having proper clothes to wear. They were poor, but I couldn't locate a
Sir, I think
Audible?
Sir,
Please,
actually,
somebody.
we had lost some connection in between. You may continue now, sir.
Okay. So, can you remind just last statement that I spoke? That was audible.
Sir, you were
Or
talking
anybody?
Macaulay's minutes, sir.
Yeah, Macaulay minute. So Macaulay said that it was not only, it was cultural, abstract of the Indian civilization, cultural abstract of Indian society. When Macaulay said that I couldn't locate single beggar after traveling at a stretch corner to corner, whole complete India of the time, complete Bangladesh of present day, and complete Pakistan of that day. At the time, if we remember, English, Hindi and Sanskrit and Urdu were the major medium, key mediums, and Hindi were available there for education. Then Macaulay said, why it is so important? Why am I talking about that? And what it has to do with the new English trend? Macaulay wrote that minute with an objective, and then he said that after traveling, I couldn't locate a single beggar, but and that is why we cannot administer such a vast colony as India. It is quite difficult because to rule such a people who are having a great sense of self-respect, dignity, and self-pride. So then he said that we, instead of Sanskrit and Urdu, Hindi and Urdu, we need to introduce another English, and we need to introduce English with a purpose. What was the objective of introduction of English, and what trend Macaulay wanted to introduce, and you assess how far Mr. Macaulay was successful by adopting his ideology. He said, we need, by introducing English as subject, as language, as medium of instruction, we need to create a group of people that will be Indian in color and complexion, but Britishers in taste and choices. And then later on, with this motive, Macaulay Minute was introduced, and English was introduced into the 4 presidency colleges of the time, then as a subject. But later on, English, when we started learning English, I would like to skip very fast, language, what role the language plays for a humankind. That language is not like that. Language is flesh and blood, as I said. Language is for me, my observation is that language is the property of central nervous system. For all those engineering experts, for all those who are new to the language, for all those who use language but don't feel like it, I would like to give one example over here. That a person who met by chance an accident, and then he went into coma, suffers to coma, and then by the time he comes out of that mental status, he speaks in the language, in his mother language, and like मैं कहाँ हूँ, where am I? So that language, his thoughts are gone. He is not able to, all reasoning ability is destroyed. He is not able to identify the place. He is not able to identify even his father, mother, brother, and relatives. But still, he is having one property with him, that is language. And in that language, he says, where am I? And then later on, if you will move to the another example that will show how closely the language is associated with us. So then you will realize that a madman, you might have seen a madman who has gone out of mind, and then he lost his reasoning, he lost his thinking, he lost his rationality, but still he has one property with him he is carrying, that is language that he has learned. He feels like jumping, he starts jumping. He feels like singing, he starts singing. He feels like shouting, he starts shouting. He feels like abusing, he starts abusing. And language is still with him as his central part of the central nervous system. So how about if we are talking about a few definitions of the language? When I would like to share with you the definition of language by C.L. Rain. C.L. Rain says that language is the natural human growth, partly mental, partly physical. It flows therefore, and thus it never ceases to change, but is in constant continuing state of flux. Like a fountain, as we see a fountain, its shape is the same, but the water is always changing. Similarly, the shape of the language is same, but forever changing, forever new, and so vibrant. Similarly, words come, words go out of the stock, and then their new words are emerging. Let us talk a bit. When I look like language, I'm dealing language first, then I will be entering into the connectivity somewhere in between language and literature. So while moving forward from this language part, somebody defines language like language is the expression of personality through words, through speech sounds, and all that speech sounds, if we look at, if we try to compare the Parinese adopted sound symbols and the sound symbols introduced by RP or IPA, or you can say American English. When we are Voice of America, you can say. So when we are going to talk about that, like Parinese sound system that was given to Sanskrit, and you will realize I'm talking about consonant sounds here. You can realize ka, kha, ga, ga, nga. You just locate the position of your tongue inside the roof of the mouth and somewhere where the tongue is hitting. It is beginning there, and all the sounds are being produced from that same point. If you will read the other line, identified other list of sounds, cha, cha, ja, ja, tongue is hitting at only one place. If you will look and how the sounds are coming out, means inside the roof of the mouth, from the back part, and then to central, then to front, and then moving outer part of the lips, where we study the sound sequence like pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. All sound system, all bilabial sounds are coming out to our lips and towards the, when he, as he proceeds by identification of the consonant sounds in language. But in English you will realize, so Hindi flow of language is from in to out. Sound system is from in to out. The identification of sounds from in to out. But let us look at the consonant system of English. English, you will realize that only two sounds are there, pa and ba. In the sounds come in pair. They are paired together. So when we talk of pa and ba, so what is happening? Pa is voiceless and ba is voiced. So similarly, ta is, so out to n, pa and ba, ta and da, ta and cha and ja, ka and ga, all are coming in pairs, and they are based on the vibration of the vocal cords. So these things, but what happens when two culture, two languages, they are coming together, there emerges a major thing that we popularly call as MTI, mother tongue influence, and that's why when we start moving to the regional regions of India from one corner to the other corner, then we realize that what kind of MTI is coming over there. Like pa and ba. Inside India, if you will travel towards Hyderabad, you will realize that sound like pa, with spoken with a great stress, great energy, air is fully blocked. but English pa is like only closure of the lip and release of the air. Pa, pa and ba. Then similar, but in Hyderabad side, if you will travel, you will realize like ta sound with a great stress and with energy they speak ta. But if what we need to soften these consonants to identify. So when we are speaking, like a person may Hyderabad call like tape, he will call like tepa, he may speak like that. Then when we will move towards a bit Bengal and that area Bihar, where certain sound like is quite difficult to decipher wa, va and bha, because bha bilabial, it becomes bilabial, va its lower lip upper teeth, va as in wood, as in vein, as in, so all that sound when we start speaking in some area, and why why we speak why and sometimes bhai. So many problems are there of MTI influences. We need, and India is a versatile land and variety rich of languages. So all that, but we need to identify how foreign language terms are coming, or new terms are emerging. Then when you will go to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, you will realize that English dictionary is so thick, but at the alphabet M, you will start analyzing, you will find a lot many words coming from Hindi to English. Maharaja, Maharani, Maharishi, Mahaut, all these terms are in series you will find over there. But what is the impact? New trains of English and impact of English is coming over there. See, English as the language of ruler and our mother tongue as the language of subject. The dominance of English can be found even by the looking at the words of them inside the dictionary. You will see who is called Maharaja. Maharaja is the person who is above the king, who is overlord. But if you will consult the dictionary, what meaning is provided over there? An Indian prince, not even king. Who is Maharaja? The meaning of Maharaja is given an Indian prince who has ruled some Indian states. So that's the point. Then you will come to the Maharani. So Maharani, see the conflict over there. They cannot accept Indian lady. Here the meaning is there in the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary 7th edition, that Maharani is the wife of Maharaja. They cannot accept the lady as a queen. They cannot accept Raja equating king or Maharaja equating king. So that's the culture of dominance and imposing the dominance of the ruler and on the subject, and trying to colonializing through language, and that was the impact. This is how a lot many terms are being borrowed, exchanged. But see, what was the attempt of 1835? Again, I would like you to realize that colonialize the mind, try to convert the mind and make it a colony. How it is affecting the language and literature, how that kind of imposition of the language is affecting the literature. Many of us, we can see that Lord Krishna was, darker in complexion. Lord Rama was darker in complexion, and Indian beauty, we call it Saula Salona. But how far we are able to, talk like that way when now beauty is being, redefined, and then that colonialized mind of in the post-colonial India creates a literature where the fairness of the color becomes more and more significant, and then their colonialized mind creates a music, creates a song. Chandi jaisa rang hai tera, sone jaise baal. Golden hairs, can you find it in India? So this is how systematically and sequentially Britishers, imposed their impositions on their subject. Moving to this, how the literature is being influenced. Even today, inside America, blacks are not able to digest the growth. Whites are not able to digest the identity and growth of the blacks. They are every now and then voices for black equality, black identity, black beauty, all these are coming. In India, the Fair and Lovely sold its creams for centuries. Why? Because for them the thing which is fairer is lovelier. For that purpose, there was the complexion meter earlier in the advertisement shown, like in 20 days, 21 days. If you are today like looking like Hasan Singh, tomorrow you may look like somebody else, somebody very fairer and or like Hollywood star. So literature never remain unaffected from these trends. I would like to comment safely on this. This is my observation that I wrote in a research paper. It is published already. That I quote myself. In colonial India, English was injected into our veins like insulin. English was injected into our veins forcefully. In colonial India, English was injected into our veins forcefully. But in post-colonial India, in independent India, we ourselves are injecting English into our veins like insulins to keep the diabetes of liberalization, privatization away and be comfortable in that situation and to be comfortable. So we are we started in post-independence India. Mahatma Gandhi wrote in Young India, a magazine in 1934, I think, and if am I right, then Mahatma Gandhi wrote that English is now looked as a certificate and he used the word passport. Mahatma Gandhi used the word passport. English is now looked as passport to marriage for educated girls. Means if a girl is having knowledge of English, she will get a better groom, and then the bride may get a better groom. That's what. Then he said, I already see that wives of my friend and their family member, they feel pride in speaking English, and their husband, if their wives are not able to speak English, they feel shy in bringing their wives into the public parties or high class, so-called high class educated parties. Moving to Gandhi again, into this is the transition phase when all these things came. While moving in the journey to the you can say 60s and 70s, how does language also, we are learning the language of dominance, language of power all the years. So we started also expressing the way Britishers used to behave. Inside India also, classes started getting divided, a new divide came during 60s and to up to 80s, and English started getting the voice of power, voice of autonomy, voice of identity in the literature. And if you remember, I would like to again draw you back to the last century when Karl Marx came with the Communist Manifesto, and then that gave the foundation for a lot many new economy and a lot many new revolutions and a lot many new changes, and that Communist Manifesto and Marxism became the tool for voicing the echoing the voice of freedom, voice of autonomy, voice of power. If you look at the feminist movement, most of the female they start talking like that. Uh, they quote Karl Marx for the voice of autonomy for feminist movement. When you will look at the third wave feminism, then you will realize that many third wave feminists started quoting that. But after 1980s, there came a new trend like voice for first wave feminism. If you look at that, a struggle for existence. Then second wave feminism is you may look at struggle for equality, and third wave feminism you may look at like a struggle for empowerment. But after that, there came an idea in Europe like post-feminism, and then post-feminism, blah blah blah. Things are going on and taking shape. But while talking that, there I had it been quite comfortable with the connectivity and all the things, I might have used a PowerPoint slide that I have prepared for for gender fair language. Earlier there came when you might be arguing me, and there may be endless argument to identify that language. What is language? It is masculine or feminine construct. And I would like to remark over here, I know that I am going to make a debatable remark, and I am going to make a very a lot many English enthusiasts will not agree with me, but language is a masculine construct. Language itself, it may be any language. You will find, look at the root words. Most of the root words are men-centric. Let us take part in man. So you need to add "yo" as prefix to convert that man into women. There is no root word for women. Even in Hindi, nar. See, without any addition of a vowel as a additional vowel, but you need to add vowel suffix to make it nari. Is 3. So that way you will realize, doctor, the wife of doctor is what? Or what in Hindi mostly people call doctor ni. Then what about the lady doctor? And how to differentiate? So most of the professional terminology are emerging from there. 1990s onwards, there emerged 95 in American universities. There came a trend, a new thing, that is ICT. And let me give you a very interesting example of a thing that how new words emerge with the emergence of technology. With the emergence of technology, when people were having only telephones, so when they were having only telephones, even at that time in 1980s, 1980 approx, a scientist guessed that the year 2050 reflection of a futurist scientific article. I think Professor R.M. Jha sir will be listening and seconding me on that, and he will be agreeing on that. In that article, a person who is a scientist by profession and scientific journalist by profession, scientist by practice, and he started speculating that what will happen when they started imagining mobile phones. And you might be surprised to know what name was given at that time in 1980 to this telephone or this mobile. So quite interesting. I quote, "Go anywhere telephone," unquote. What name was given to this mobile? Go anywhere telephone. Since the mobile was not there, and who invented and gave it is a name and a lot many things, but many years back, you know, towards 1950 or 60s, people started speculating that such invention will come in the years to come. And in 1995, if you will look at the development of what we call ICT, American University in 1995, probably 90s, it was introduced ICT as a subject. Information Communication Technology, this new term came. And then later on what roadmap ICT will run, ICT will move. Later on, there came a new term also, and it was added into Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. That term was information superhighways. Information superhighways. You can search it into the Oxford Dictionary. It is there, available in the 7th edition of Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. So really what happened, how the things are changing, and new trend is coming. Then this ICT change became the biggest game player in COVID-19. In 2018, I visited the University of Oxford, Exeter College, to attend some training. And there, you know, we are talking about new trends. So let us talk about new trend in language. And here is probably the latest trend that is lying over there. What is that trend in language? Let us talk. You know, in terms of feminism and revisionism in the language, how people want to revise and restructure the language. Most of the places, women are telling that we will not write woman because it is having man inside. So we will write only UO, WO, UO. That will be my identity. That they are proclaiming that. Then there is a new research going on that tells that when you call a girl or a boy baby, when you talk in that term, you talk a girl or a boy baby, that term baby itself is masculinist. So what they are telling, and see, there is third gender also, they also exist. What about transgender? They don't have, there is, dictionaries are lacking words for them, suitable words for them. Like if a boy is, male boy is there, or if a boy is there, then adolescent and then youth and all that. What about the youth who is a transgender? Then all the way language focus on masculinism, chairman. So why man is there? Because they never consider the man as a woman as chairperson. See, in India, quite humorous situation. There is a post, highest post of the country, Rashtrapati. What for if Pratibha Devi Singh Patil is there? Rashtrapati again. Because Hindi language is, they are incapable to create a word equivalent to Rashtrapati in the feminine consciousness or in the feminine terminology. So there is no term. When we talk about these, there are many things you can find. Even Mazdoor is a masculine word. Mazdurni, you need to add some suffix over there to go for, to change the gender. So all these things are coming over there. So based on that, people started using, they said we won't call our baby a baby. Because कहते कि किसी को, some lady is pregnant, कहते उसको बच्चा होने वाला है, she is expecting a baby, she is expecting a baby. What is that? If she is girl, no, in most of the culture only boy, they cannot imagine even a girl. So latest trend is coming in the term like baby, BA should be removed. First BA is for boy. So there is like the baby and THEY, they. They is the third person. So there is gender neutral terminology. Then there comes gender neutrality. For that purpose, a new word came as they be. Instead of baby, they started calling it baby. They means gender is not yet decided, and or even baby is a neutral term. Then you can find that even bisex, toilets, and even multi-gender cycles and common cycles for male and female. A lot many new words are coming that way. Even in language, because of technology, you cannot ignore the language being used. If a student are writing like ILU instead of writing wholly I love you. So we are accepting it or not. But question this new trend in before academia, that whether we should give it marks on that, whether we are going to give marks if a student has used certain in online examination, some is smiley instead of the places of writing smiling. So that is also a language pictograph that is in the process of acceptance. And now we are on equal term. It is not like that England is using only Cockney or other English. They are also feeling adopting their language and their natural accent and trying to enhance the ease of communication and trying to enhance that comfort in language. So a lot many change. Very often we use tag question, and in tag question we ask like, isn't it? The tag a part of that, isn't it? Nowadays in Oxford people started using in it, and then INNIT, in it. So these are the certain changes that are coming into language. Even dictionaries are being revised, and new terminologies or trends are coming to focus. See, even in this COVID-19, compounding of the words and like that, coronavirus and CO, corona VI virus, and D for December. So CO of corona, VI of virus, and D for December constitute COVID. And that way new terminology came. New words are coming every day and changing our life. And it's not only that, nowadays literature is also going online. And can you say that the messages we read day and night on WhatsApp messaging system, are they not the this literature? If somebody is writing blog on social media, is it not the form of literature? Every day we are getting a lot many interesting tweets by politicians or those cinematographic people and people from cinema. Are they not literature, are part of literature? Will they? So how far can we separate us from latest technology? This ICT will be the biggest game changer, and we have to follow, and somewhere we need to accept this change if we want to survive, if we want to grow. Nowadays, I have introduced a syllabus in my university, Advanced Professional Writing. In it, I'm going to change blog. I'm going to teach inside the classroom writing blogs on social media. Why it is so? If etiquette is changing into netiquette, etiquette on internet, so why not blogs should be the part of curriculum? our social identity, social personality, e-personality. If I am writing all capital letters on that, then you are terming me that I am rude, I am shouting. So all that thing, who will teach them? Because they are cyber citizens, cosmopolitan cyber citizens we are preparing. They may go tomorrow anywhere. They may go to UK, US, Arabia, anywhere. So how will they survive? For that purpose, we need to teach them all this net lingo and even email etiquettes and writing blogs on social media must be converted as the part of academia. Got it? So from here at this point, I would like to, take open session open for the question where we could reach that, and I have discussed. Let me recap for that. That we have started from the oldest imposition of the English, new and of oldest imposition of the English and how it was imposed, how it was forcefully thrust on us, upon us, and then how we gradually started resistance. That in pre-independence India, people used to like Japo Nirantar Ek Jaban, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan, but gradually these things started changing, and they started creating we started acceptance. After resistance, there came acceptance, and after acceptance, there and we were so happy in accepting that we all in culture, in literature, in everywhere, we started accepting that, and nowadays we are more English than English. Means we are more British than them. We are following them. We are even in the shape of leading them, and we are feeling happy while we are copying them. But I hope that new education policy 2020 will lead us towards certain different change, and no teacher can be looked into the isolation. I have delivered a talk in terms of all teaching should be uh, taken care in terms of in the connectivity with students whatsoever we have given. See, nationalism, that cultural pride that we take, you might remember the song Jab Zero Diya Mere Bharat Ne, Duniya Ko Tab Ginti Aayi. But nowadays, what is going on? Now, what is going on? We are accepting every change, even we are leading, and even we are more comfortable with the changing scenario. And this ICT will definitely change the, you can say, overhaul the complete existing academia and language and literature to come. Nowadays, in literature also, when I recall Radha Madhav Jhanji, when Professor Saab said that new trends like haiku, very small poems, and practicing haiku in Hindi, poem of 3 lines. I would like to, you will enjoy, I will share a haiku in Hindi for you people. Um, Purana Tal Kuda Mendhak Gudu. This is the poem. Because people have no time to spend on a lot many, literary, rich literary epics and all the things. So it's, I have selected a small video and requested the organizers, especially to Jha sir, Kavita and Ria ma'am, that they will, and I said that please make sure that this is what we are being in relation to our student whom we are going to teach. So over to you, Kavita ji, kindly run this small, slides here, or slides or videos, whatsoever you call. It's on the story of Teddy's 3 letter based on, and this is how literature is coming, and I have clubbed it with relation to the students. Kindly run, please. Then we will take up the question answer. Kavita, kindly unmute the voice. There, live is there. There is sound near live. You have made. Okay. This voice. This. There.
Sir,
You.
was it audible?
Yes, audible now.
Okay, sir.
Run it. Make it full screen. We are required to look teacher into the relationship with student. Like most teachers, she looked at her student and said that she loved every student. This is lie. However, that was impossible because there is in front of the row slumped in a seat was a little boy named Teddy Stellard. Miss Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed that he didn't play well with other children. His clothes are shabbily dressed and Teddy could be unpleasant. It got to the point where Miss Thompson would actually take delight in marking his paper with a broad red pen, making bold cross, and then putting a big F at the top of his papers. At the school where Miss Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past record and she put Teddy's off until the last. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's first grade teacher wrote, Teddy is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He is such a joy to be around. His second grade teacher wrote, Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be a struggle. His third grade teacher wrote, his mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest and his home life will soon affect him if some steps are not taken. Teddy's fourth grade teacher wrote, Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in his school. He doesn't have many friends and he sometimes sleeps in class. By now, Miss Thompson realized the problem and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas present wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper except for Teddy's. His present was clumsily wrapped in heavy brown paper and he got from a grocery bag. Miss Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents. Some of the students started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet and some of the stones missing, and a bottle that was 1/4 full of perfume. But she stifled the children's laughter when she claimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on. Teddy is still on the stage after school and that day just long enough to say, Miss Thompson, today you smell just like my mom used to. After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. Instead, she began to teach children. Miss Thompson paid particular attention to Teddy. As she worked with him, his mind began to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class, and despite her lie that she would love all the children the same, Teddy became one of her teacher's pet. A year later, she found a note under a door from Teddy telling her that she was the best teacher he had ever had in his whole life. 6 years went by before he got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school, third in the class, and she was still the best teacher he ever had in his whole life. 4 years after that, he got another letter saying that while things has been tough for his time, he stayed in his school. He would stuck with it and would soon graduate from college with the highest of honors. Again, he assured Miss Thompson that she was still the best and favorite teacher he would have ever had. Then 4 more years passed and yet another letter came. After he got his bachelor degree, he had decided to go a little further. She was still the best and favorite teacher he would ever had. But now his name was little longer. The letter was signed Theodore F. Stellard, MD. The story does not end here. There was yet another letter that springs. Teddy said he would meet this girl and was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple of years ago and he was wondering if Miss Thompson might agree to sit at the wedding in the place of that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Miss Thompson did, and guess what? She wore that bracelet and one with several rhinestones missing. Moreover, she made sure she was wearing the perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing. They hugged each other, then Dr. Stellard whispered in Miss Thompson's ear, "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you. You can never tell what type of impact you may have on another's life by your actions or lack of action. So please consider this fact in your venture through life and just try to make a difference in someone else's life today. That's it from my side, and I'm open for questions.
With this, we come to our question answer session here, and we one by one will take the questions and sir will answer them. So the first question is, do you think language is gender specific? It is asked by, I think, someone who does not belong to the organization, but a very enthusiastic audience. That is language gender specific, sir?
Yes, language is gender specific, and in my opinion, it is masculine construct.
Okay. So the next question has been asked by anonymous audience from there, anonymous listener, and the question is, do you think gender studies as a theory is dominating the field of literature these days?
Gender studies actually, most of the societal movements, we cannot divorce social cause from literature. So what is inside? Normally we call it literature as a mirror of society, but literature is also a change agent. By reading or going through a literature, a kind of literature, we try to introduce certain change, because the objective of literature is also to not only to entertain, rather to instruct somebody and to introduce certain changes. So gender studies dominates because gender disparity is there, and the kind other issues are also there. Definitely there are other issues and other problems. So even some of the countries, its women studies is now men's studies are also being introduced. So that is the new trend in gender studies. Not only women studies, men studies is there, but still it is a part of gender studies. And not only that, transgenders are really very deprived in the society. So we should not forget that them also, they are also part of the civilization. And that's why I said that language is gender specific. I connected with the first question. How many professional terminology are dedicated to third gender? How many professional, so gender studies talks today more about the right of women than the right of men, and finally again it is on the margin. Third gender, transgender people are still on the margin. So gender studies will keep dominate, and in the approx at least for 1 or 2 decades more.
Okay, sir. Sir, as you talked about post-colonial aspects of language and literature, do you think it is relevant to study colonial history in literature? This question has been asked by anonymous listeners, sir.
Please repeat it. Please just
The question is, sir, the question is, as you talked about post-colonial aspects of language and literature, do you think it is relevant to study colonial history in literature?
Actually, history cannot be, again, don't try to look language and literature in isolation. The problem will be there. And the problem is with, a lot many setup where we are teaching language and literature, people try to look at English as a subject. If you are looking English as a subject only, the student will appear in the examination and pass it with the good grade. But do you think that a person who scored in a particular paper 80% knows 80% of the English? Then you need to focus English as a language, and then your focus even broaden English as the medium of instruction. And if you are looking that, so not again, even then your vision is not complete. If somebody is having this holistic vision, that he looks English at not only as a subject, as a particular paper, not only as a language to be taught, and not only as a medium of instruction, still vision is incomplete. Why it is so? The language itself is, history and language, both of them are interchanging. Language creates history, language records history as well. Records of history are documented in language itself. So any kind of history, can we say that we can study the complete English and we should not talk about French Revolution? Language is very fluid thing. It is not like, I would like to say, those who are from the field of science, my genuine question is that language is not like a chemical packed in a beaker or packed in a bottle, packed in a jar. Language is very fluid and it flows, and its flow can never be, blocked. It will keep flowing. So I can write a poem on history, and you can also write a poem on language. Clear? So even I would like to share with you 4 lines here. Like I have written a poem on history. Exactly, the question came to me. So I wish to share, since we are talking about language and literature both. इतिहास किताबें पढ़ो नौनिहालों बदलोगे हिंदुस्तान की तस्वीर. So colonial history, you know, it is the part of our gene. Our fathers, our forefathers suffered, and that's why the language of the slave, the language of a beggar, the language of the person who is overruled. You remember that you just see the Bhakti Kal of Hindi language. That was mostly written in the colonial era. What is there? Most of the people are pre-colonial era. That was also overruled by somebody. So when we were slaves, most of the writer used to write Kabir Das. Title is Das, Sur Das, Tulsi Das. And now quite closer to the independence, there it started Swamis. A lot many Swami, Swami this, Swami this, Swami this, Swami this. So they started using, so that slave and master, people started using Swami before name. So that change from slave to master, it was, see, those who were dedicating their life to the service of Lord, they declared themselves as the slaves. And when they are studying to, they are independent, their mind is independent, they started writing Swami. So Swami means master, Das means slave. That when we were slave, we were using that terminology before our name as our title, and now we are taking that Swami as prefix. There Das was suffix. Kabir Das, Sur Das, Tulsi Das, suffix, second name. Here Swami comes the first name. Why that conversion and how that conversion from Das to Swami? So when you are talking that we need to study the colonial history, so when we were Das, now we need not to forget that history, and while becoming the Swami, and if we are going to forget, then we may be, you know, we may be a kind of very, very rude and revengeful creature, and we will, so one cannot, our past cannot be detached from us. See, forget about the history of humankind. Suppose that somebody is 20 years young, 30 years young. Can he or she be detached from his past, his history? हम अपने लाइफ के पास्ट को क्या अपने आप से डिटैच करके, and can we be able to create a literature? That past, like language is the part of central nervous system, our history is also the part of that. That is why, you know, there an American author, Leroy Jones, Imamu Amiri Baraka. Amiri Baraka wrote at one place that I am Marxist, Leninist, Mao Zedong, because he has the impact of Marxism, impact of Leninism and Mao Zedong. What we speak today, I am not speaking, Dr. S.N. Singh is not speaking, rather my whole relatives, impact of my teachers, impact of my friends, impact of my colleagues, somewhere R.M. Jha is also speaking in my voice, because he is the part of my history. I cannot detach myself from him, so that impact will always come. So colonial history is that thing. People say to forget, but I say that one must visit, revisit and re-revisit to the history if we want to grow in our life. Otherwise, it will take even next 50 years to become a developed country.
Thank you for the perfectly explained answer, sir. You really simplified it for us. Thank you so much for the perfect explanation, sir.
Any more questions do we have?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, the next question has been asked by our own student of BA English, Rukhsar Khanam. Her question is, sir, grammar is lost and has almost disappeared in today's scenario, and SMS language has ruined the role of vocabulary and spelling. What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's what I said in my lecture. I said that we should also try to accept that SMS language, SMS literature, And if we are not going to accept, and we are going to write, like if somebody is writing I love you instead of I love you, so what will happen? We have to accept I love you as well. We have to accept those small writing parts, that RIP. So then a lot many things we have to accept. And if as teaching community we are not going to accept it, by the fast changing technology, like generations, technological generation, we will be obsolete one day. हम खुद ही जो है outdated हो जाएंगे अगर हम बच्चों के इन चीजों को accept करते पे नहीं आए. So my dear student, we need to, it is, you are at the pace of technology, you are marching on with the technology, but requirement is that as teacher it is, we are supposed to change. If we want to make your life better, we have to accept it today or tomorrow. As we have already introduced, blogs on social media, writing emails and small messages, because etiquette is now netiquette. Denizens are netizens, citizens are netizens now, cyber citizens, and now netiquette is required for professionals. If I am very cultured and belonging to a very rich cultural heritage, carrying all the thing, and I am not comfortable on internet, she ask Kavita how much problems she faced for me connecting me. So that will be, and twice or thrice she will not invite me. That it's not so much problem. Who will go to add this person? He is outdated. So we will be out of phased out, phase by phase, very quickly if we are not going to accept it. So bete, we whether you should it be accepted, it must be accepted.
Sir, thank you so much for explaining it so clearly, how language has had this tremendous impact and how this internet generation is affected by language. So, the next question has also been asked by one of our students from the University of BA English, the Kumari Simran. The question is from Kumari Simran, and her question is, what is your opinion on the bourgeoisie influence that identity?
Sorry, let me silence my mobile. Yes, please. Yes.
What is your opinion on the bourgeoisie influence that identity politics has on literature?
What is your
opinion on the bourgeoisie influence that identity politics has on literature?
It's a wonderful question, but it will keep in India. When you will go outside India, they ask a question. I leave the answer to be clued by the student, but they ask a question that in India you people are very high on ethics, ethical ground, but or ethical documentation. But when it comes to practice, you are nowhere, because you might be seeing news and all that, a lot many things. Indian media is on 107 pedestal somewhere, not in the 100 countries. Why is it so? Because we identify with our heroes, whether the hero may be Lord Rama in Ramayana, or the hero may be Duryodhana or Krishna or Arjuna or whosoever. We identify with the hero first and then try to do the politics. So that way what happens here, where that is also somewhere in the politics, benefit motive is hidden. And that's why this will go on. This will never be stopped.
Indeed, it was an informative explanation, sir. So the next question is from an anonymous listener of us today. And the question is, how technology has played a vital role in changing the trend of English language and literature?
Yeah, wonderful. The whole lot of dictionary is enriched after the introduction of technology. Not only technology, this globalization, because of technology also, and because of even industrialization, LPG, atom, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Because of that, people came together, cultures came together. We came into contact. Now systems are breaking, traditions are breaking, and they are being questioned, challenged, and even sometimes broken, challenged, and even outcast. Most of the practices that we used to, the way we used to celebrate festivals in our childhood, if you can remember, is not the way we are celebrating those festivals. So technology has changed. Not only that, technology has changed the language, literature, and lot of words are being introduced to the glossary of language every day. A lot many words are being added to the glossary, and that's what, and they are in practice, and a lot many words are going out also from the dictionary. Like earlier, that there was the concept of old and fresh food. खाना जूठा है या ताजा है. So, and nowadays, when 2, 3, 4 friends are there eating on one thali, eating pizza and something, sharing all that, so now that concept is also obsolete. All the things are part of literature. Now we know we cannot divorce the life, and we cannot divorce the technology. Technology will lead the life. I have written one of the research paper, and it is published somewhere. At the title of title I couldn't recall, but lines I could recall. I wrote it long back. And what is that? Towards the second half of the 21st century, means uh, 2051. Towards the second half of the 21st century, India will not be divided into caste, but there will be still division. वहां पे भी डिवीजन होगा. तो क्या होगा? Technical experts, semi-technical expert, technical people, semi-technical people, and non-technical people. So technical people will be leading the country, and semi-technical people will serve for the technical people, and non-technical people will also go for subsidy and other things, and they for charity and other things, and they will have to struggle in the year of 2050. Okay, I can take one more question quickly.
Yes,
As we have signed recently an MOU with IIT Bombay, and they are calling me to join a meeting.
Yes, this is the last question that actually we are taking, and it is somewhat a general question on the significance of literature. So a student from our university, Rishika Sinha, has asked, does literature have a pragmatic impact on the national and societal lives of people? Do you think that literature contributes in the development
I have already answered. This first question I have already answered. If you club the answer, her answer is there. Does literature have the, read the first part of the question?
Sir, the question is, does it have a pragmatic impact on the national and societal lives of people? And do you think it can contribute to the development of the nation?
Definitely. Definitely. Because literature nowadays is no longer a mirror. It is an agent, a tool to change the society. It's no longer a mirror. Traditionally, it was a mirror. When a purpose of education was defined by Francis Bacon in Of Studies, where he says that studies serves for delight, for ornament and ability. But now education is not for ornament, and even India declares way back that where it is said that शिक्षे तेरा नाश हो जो तू नौकरी के हित बनी. But nowadays the basic purpose of education is job. The basic purpose of, and where literature, those film script writers earning money by writing something, by writing literature. Those who are singing, writing songs. Clear? You know, code mixing. Let me give you one answer to very practical example to the candidate who asked this question. Code mixing is one thing and code switching is another thing. When we start mixing the code of mother tongue while communicating in that second language, and code mixing is basically a weakness and code switching is the bigger weakness. But what happens? Code mixing is now business. Code mixing is now professionally accepted. Dog the fire, Chuck Day India, then a lot many ads, Amul the taste of India, mixing Hindi and English. And I would like to give you one example from film again, where code mixing is used, like in a song, Hum Tum Pe Itta Dying, the foreign language code is mixed. Jita sea mein pani lying, Akash mein panchi flying, Bhaura bagiyan mein gaing. So this is sort kind of code mixing, and all that is being practiced over there. So even the weaknesses of the language beta are so professionalized and packaged that they are used for earning money and profession. So how can you say that literature will not survive? Literature will grow, survive, and language will also grow. New innovative things will come, and language will be the front leader even in the technological movement for earning money. Like, see, if somebody knows only Bhojpuri, he can have good package in Bihar. But if you have access to Hindi, and you can have access to up to Delhi. If you know the South Indian language or Bengali, you whole Calcutta, West Bengal, and this other South Indian language, Andhra is open for you. So package can, for mobility, bargaining power and access, a lot many options are there. And if you know English, then you can earn in dollars. And see, the package nowadays in dollar and the package in INR will never be can never be paired together. So definitely language will be the ability that will impact your life from the front. So kindly allow me to leave. I had 3 calls and people from IIT Bombay is waiting. They are waiting. So
Yes.
I would like to thank you all, Aryan Jha sir, Kavita ji, Riya Mukherjee ji, and a lot many organizers, our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir from there, and Dean sir, and all of you spared and that much time and bear me up to that extent. I'm really honored and thankful to you for providing me so much time to take questions and deal with, and I hope that I have meet out the expectation level of expectation of my friend Professor RM Jha sir, my colleague there, because we were also having from the Birla
Sir.
Sir, just give us 1 minute so that we can pay the
Kavita.
vote of thanks, sir. Sir, 1 minute, just give us so that we can give you pay the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thanks a lot.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. Please, sir, 1 minute. Dr. Riya Mukherjee, ma'am, I would like to request you, please, vote of thanks. Give thanks to
Sure, sir.
Professor Dr. Sudhinaran Singh.
Sure, sir. First of all, I would like to propose hearty vote of thanks to our chief speaker, Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh, HOD Department of English, Madan Mohan University, Gorakhpur, for gracing today's webinar and delivering the address on new trends in English literature and language. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking address. I am sure that all the participants have taken note of your suggestions and will be discussing within their organizations to implement it for research and teaching purposes. I also take the opportunity to thank our Honorable CEO, Dr. Pradeep Kumar Verma, who is constant support for the university. I also thank Professor V.K. Singh, Honorable Registrar, Professor Sanjeev Bajaj, Dean IDCS, Professor S.V. Dandin, Dean Engineering and Applied Science, Professor R.N. Jha, Associate Dean, Department of Humanities and Yoga, Professor Kavita Kumari for producing the event successfully, all other invitees and students for showing their interest in the program and making it successful. Thank you once again to all of you for making it successful, and have a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you all, and my special thanks are due to Kavita. I troubled her a lot. You know.
No, sir, it was a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. You know, because of connectivity and all the part. Thank you so much. Namaste from Gorakhpur, Madan Mohan Malviya University.